Good morning slash afternoon, everybody. How's it going? All right, seeing so many people come on in. I see Ashley, Camille, Caroline, Courtney, Dawn, Helen, Hannah, lots of Hannahs. I see Kate, I see Lisa Zoo, I see Mallory, Megan, Monica, Oniki, Renee. Hello, everybody. It's our last webinar of 2020. Giving me a raise of hands if this is your first webinar ever joining us. Oh, wow. Great. There's a lot of people. Robert says this is a second webinar. Tamiko, this is your first webinar with us. Yay, thanks for joining us. We do these every month. We actually have a webinar on Thursday too if you want more introductory type content on how to use Planoly, more of like a basic demo if you want like a live demonstration of how Planoly works. It is included in links that I sent over earlier today. It should have been sent out earlier the past hour and yesterday. If you check those emails, there's a lot of links that I'm going to be referring to within this webinar. But there's also the link to the Planoly 101 Instagram Planner webinar if you want more of like a live rundown of how Planoly works, if you want to chat with us on that. This is Rena's first webinar. Yay, really exciting. And I assume that everybody else has joined us before. So thank you again for taking the time out of your day to learn with us a little bit. I know that this question always comes up, but people always ask if they are not being able to join, the entire webinar, will there be a replay? And yes, we will be sending one out tomorrow. It will be sent with Zoom, and then we will be putting it up, posting it live on YouTube on Friday. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. Yay. Cheryl, this is Cheryl's first webinar, and Erin's as well. Yay. Well, we're really excited to have you guys with us today. And today's topic is more about just like the trends that we need to look for in 2020. I'm really looking forward to what the new decade will bring. It's really exciting, and especially I've been in social media for 6 years, so I've seen it even from like 2013 to now. It's been constantly evolving, and that's what I really love about working in social media and marketing, is that this world definitely keeps you on your toes. And I'm sure if you guys have been in digital marketing for a while, you can see that it's never really gets boring. It's always really exciting and new. And that's why I really love being in this industry. And of course, to be a part of the Planoly team is really exciting too, because we get to see all of that firsthand when it comes to Instagram, Pinterest, and now we're seeing TikTok, Facebook, seeing how platforms evolve over time. So we'll dive into that with our webinar. And just a heads up, oh, I'm muted, so when I joined automatically. Okay, so everybody's muted. I only if I enable you, it's if you're able to talk in, but no worries, nobody can hear you guys. But yeah, so just a quick rundown. This is the live view right now. Then we'll go into the webinar that Adriana and I recorded for you guys. So this is the first time that it's being seen. We've never done this webinar, so it was brand new content for all of you guys to take a look at. We'll be diving into 6 different trends that we think are really important to look for in 2020. And then after that, we'll go ahead and dive right into the Q&A. I do want to advise that with Q&A, I want to make sure that everybody puts their questions into this little Q&A box right here. If you put them in the chat, they will get lost because that's just the chat. I want to make sure that I run and get to your questions, so make sure you drop it into the Q&A box right here. Is everybody clear on that? Thumbs up, please. Because sometimes it doesn't get clear, so I just want to make sure that it's all good. Thumbs up if everybody knows to drop their, great. All right, awesome. I'm seeing thumbs up already. Great. All right, so we'll go ahead and dive right into it. It'll be like a very quick 30-minute webinar, and then we'll dive into questions. So 1 second as I switch over.
Hi again, everybody. Like I mentioned earlier, my name is Priscilla. I am the Director of Marketing here at Planoly.
Hi guys, I'm Adriana. I'm the Product Marketing Lead here at Planoly.
And again, thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out of your busy schedules for one of our last webinars of 2020. We're really excited for everything that's to come in the new year. And obviously in the past decade, there's been so many changes that have gone on, and we don't expect for the momentum to change anytime soon, especially, and we're really excited to see what's gonna happen within the next 10 years. We're seeing the influx of TikTok, we're seeing so many changes going on with video within Instagram and just video in general, the way that people look at content a little bit differently. The relationship that we have with social media has been, very interesting, and we're trying to amplify the relationship that, we as marketers or just, basic consumers look at social media, and just trying to reframe it in a much better way. But of course, we'll dive into all of that. So with that said, we'll just go ahead and dive in. So, like I mentioned earlier, social media is constantly evolving, and 2020 is just 2 weeks away. So if you haven't already kind of, gotten yourself prepared for the changes that are to come, it's time for you to already get prepared and, have your social media strategy a little bit malleable, so that way it changes with all the, updates and trends that are to come within the new year. And a few things that we'll touch on. Number one being capitalizing on video on Instagram, on the grid, and IGTV if you haven't done so already. And we don't see that video is gonna, slow down anytime soon. So it's making sure that you're actually having a really set strategy for video when you come to these platforms. And even if you haven't tried it, trying it and seeing what works for you. Second, it's creating a TikTok strategy. So TikTok is kind of like the wild, wild west right now. Still very new, and obviously I'm not a Gen Zer, but I wouldn't doubt that more millennials will start diving into TikTok down the road.
Yeah.
So I think we, even as content marketers and digital strategists, and even, if you're a content creator, you have to kind of build a presence and be an early adopter to platforms that might be a little bit intimidating. That's exactly how Facebook and Snapchat got started, and even Instagram. So we don't see that TikTok will, just stay specifically to Gen Z down the road. Next, it's owning your channels over social media. So amplifying beyond just your social media reach, and really taking ownership of the people that you keep in touch with that follow you, and setting them within your email newsletter if you don't have one already. Next is tapping into AR filters. So as you can see, there's so many filters within Instagram, and obviously Snapchat had already been doing this for a while, but the way that Instagram has done it has been very different. And the way that creators and content creators have grown their following is a way that content marketers can really look at it in building their brand. And then another thing that we want to make sure that we really don't want to emphasize that it's just going to be a trend. We want to make sure that it goes within 2020 and beyond, is looking at social media from a more sustainable standpoint, with intention and mindfulness, and not thinking that social media is, social media can have, sometimes it's negative things here and there. Of course, there's trolls everywhere, but looking at a better relationship that we can hold with social media that allows us to, enjoy, make connections online, and then transfer that energy and positivity offline too.
Yeah.
And then finally is tapping into niche platforms like Pinterest, if you haven't done so already, to grow your traffic. I feel like we're probably gonna mention this a lot within 2020.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are very, hesitant about approaching new platforms, especially if there's that kind of a lot of people say, oh, Pinterest is just for DIY, and it's much more than that.
Yeah.
There's so many niches within Pinterest that your brand can tap into. So it's a matter of really building a strategy and trying to see if there is an audience for you, and amplifying on that to grow your brand even further beyond the social channels that you already have.
So first, we're going to talk about capitalizing on video for Instagram and IGTV. First, video and IGTV has been a powerful tool when it comes to the way that you share your content with your users on Instagram, especially stories, and storytelling has been at the forefront this entire year. And so it's been amazing to see the way that brands, influencers, and everyone alike have been able to grow their following through these different outlets on Instagram. So we're going to dive a little bit further into these different aspects. So watch time on Instagram has been growing every year since video and IGTV were introduced. I, for one, with my own personal Instagram, have seen a lot of engagement on IG stories this year, more so than my in-feed posts. And it's been a really great way to connect with my audience through like polls or Q&As, or just getting more personal with them, sharing more things from my everyday life. So it's a great way to share like your workouts, your weekly routines, behind the scenes, and all the things that you're up to that they're not getting to see within your actual feed. Another thing is that just 2 years ago, video watch time on Instagram was up 80% year over year, and the number of videos shared is up 4 times according to TechCrunch, which is amazing. So it goes to show that video is doing so well on Instagram, and it's a great way to prioritize and strategize for your content on the platform. And then a fun fact, videos receive 2.1 times more comments than image posts on average. They hold the highest engagement rate over image content as well. So that just goes to show that your followers are engaging more with your content on video, and they want to see more of what you have to share and get more personal with you.
And I think one thing that's really important in understanding how video actually works for you is really diving into the insights. And a few of the metrics that we really want to emphasize beyond just likes and comments, because obviously with likes being hidden, it doesn't really change the way that we look at engagement, but the key metrics that we really want to look at when it comes to video is saves and shares. Those are the ones that are really going to tell you the video that, or the type of video content that your audience really wants to see. And for me, I try to like frame back to when I'm actually saving and sharing video and what value that content has for me. And then we try to amplify that within our content. So think of like, if you're saving something, that's something that your audience is probably saving for the future to reference back, rather than just like one-time fleeting content. So looking at, okay, what purpose is this video gonna have that they can reference back to again and again? If they're sharing, of course, that's information that they wanna share with their community. So looking at those type of metrics, seeing how those metrics refer to your content, and then letting that drive your content strategy with video for the future. And another thing too is, I think it's really important, like Adriana said, the reason why she has so much engagement on her stories, it's because she is kind of building up a story, behind the scenes, and setting up what her brand is, her values, her, everything that her brand stands for. And I think that's what brands need to look at too. It's not a matter of selling. I think once you introduce your brand through the core values, who your brand is, how it actually connects to the audience that you're trying to reach, that's going to be kind of like the gateway to that sales point. So don't start off being like 30% off this weekend, blah, blah, blah. Like, if I don't know anything about your brand, or it doesn't fall in line with my personal values, my personal, who I am, I'm not going to care to buy. I care more, and I think, I feel like Gen Zers are like this too. They care about the brands that, reflect who they are. And so you have to do that with your content. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and going off that same thing that Priscilla said, the stories that I've seen the most engagement on for me have been stories that are more personal or tailored to what I'm actually doing behind the scenes, as opposed to sharing things I've recently purchased or some new outfit that's on the blog. Those always do great, but the ones that really pack a punch are something that is showing more into my life, and more that gets people to see who Adriana actually is, who I am, and like the more behind the scenes.
Yeah. I think the key here is with that, any content, be it video or anything on your feed, you want to inform, inspire, engage, and entertain first before you make that sell.
Yeah.
So those will be the key things that will make that sell so much easier.
So next we have a really great quote from Christy Dash, who's on the partnerships team for Instagram. And she said, "It really is the short snackable videos, these visual moving moments that could be 5 to 10 seconds long, filmed on your phone. It's that type of video that's really performing, also not being afraid to show those behind the scene moments. I think people really do want to feel like they're part of your journey, and I think that that's easier to translate to a creator who's a person that has a face to the name, and you can kind of feel like you're literally spending a day with them in stories." This is something that I love doing also on my stories, is telling an actual day visually as to how like my everyday looks like, whether I'm starting out with a workout or working on blog content or going out to do a photo shoot, just anything that you can pack into your video to share that little glimpse into what your everyday looks like.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't have to fit like a picture perfect mold. That's where a lot of people get hesitant with video.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of actually showing the raw, like as with stories, you can just show the raw being of your brand.
Yeah.
You don't have to think of like getting, a full set of equipment
Yeah.
to make great content. As long as the value of the content is there. I mean, I don't know about like filming on a Motorola Razr. Like, obviously that video is not going to do well. But as long as the content itself is valuable and can relate to people, that's something that's really going to do a lot of work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's dive into a few things that Instagram has that you can tap into to create more video content. So first, Instagram has tools that can continue to encourage creators to create specific video on their platforms, and it's a series option for their IGTV videos. So essentially, you can create little sections of certain series of videos that you're planning to post on IGTV. So for example, if you are in the food industry and you're wanting to do a specific like food series, you can share that on there. Or if you're doing a certain style series and you're an influencer that's sharing specific like outfits or how to style things during the seasons, you can do that on there as well. You want to really think about what your expertise is and what you can share with your audience. So if you're really great at DIY or you're really great at sharing marketing tips or anything like that, try to leverage those things that you're really an expert in and put those forward on your IGTV videos.
Yeah, I feel like people will always want to hear you. And I think content creators that have done this so well, for example, Quigley, she has done this, she's tapped into video because people want to hear her beyond just her caption. And even Gary Vaynerchuk, most of his content is all video and it gets shared like crazy. I save a lot of his content, but it's because people actually want to just hear what you have to say and get to know you personally. I feel like it comes off a little bit more passionate rather than just like a caption that they have to sit and read. And especially if you have to give your expertise and you can actually just talk and say it. I mean, for example, that's why you guys are here on this webinar. You're hearing us say all of these things rather than just reading it on a blog post. So it just translates a little bit better. So thinking of it that way.
And again, as we touched on earlier, it doesn't have to be professional. It doesn't have to be picture perfect. I know a lot of us are really specific with our aesthetics on our main feed, but Stories is intended to be more personal and fun and show that different side of you so that your audience can really fully connect with you on another level.
And the same goes for Grid and IGTV. Instagram allows you to place covers on those videos so it doesn't actually ruin your feed. So there's no reason to be like, oh, this like little screenshot from my video just like looks weird. You can actually pick a cover, so it's totally fine. Yeah. So next is creating a TikTok strategy. So obviously, as it's funny, I took a BuzzFeed quiz the other day, and I guess like all these Gen Zers are on TikTok, and they call us the olds. It's almost cyberbullying, not really, but it's just really funny. Understanding how TikTok is right now, but it is, like I mentioned earlier, the Wild Wild West. We're still navigating it, especially if you're just being very brand new. But the one thing with TikTok, especially with it being so brand new, is that there's still so much to learn. There's still so much room for testing, and there is so much leeway for trial and error. So don't be afraid to feel like your first TikTok has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be. I think the one really cool thing about TikTok that makes it very different from platforms like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook is that you don't have to have a big following. There's been content creators that have grown like crazy in a matter of months for one viral video. So, and the great thing about TikTok is that you can actually download videos and share them to Instagram, share them to Twitter, and that's how that virality kind of continues to grow, always driving back to the platform. So try it out. I think eventually, even though the audience is still very young right now, older audiences will find themselves on TikTok in the same way that older audiences found themselves on Facebook. I mean, Facebook was just like a college app at first. It was just very, very tailored to a certain demographic, and now my grandparents are on it. Yeah. Not to say that my grandparents are going to be making videos on TikTok, but we don't see that it's not going to be like a specific just to Gen Zers. So be an early adopter. Allow your brand to be an early adopter and tap into something that, maybe your other competitors haven't tapped into.
Yeah, and TikTok is already tapping into other industries as well. We just saw the other day that one of their content creators is the new face for Celine, so that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's honestly a force to be reckoned with. Yeah. And there's brands like Procreate that have really amplified on two things, tutorials and trends. And she put my name on yellow. And on TikTok. The Washington Post, a newsroom. Like, I don't think Gen Zers are going to Starbucks to pick up the latest issue of Washington Post, but they've really grown an insane following by following trends and really showing like the heart of who the team behind Washington Post is. Yes. And that's the really cool thing. Like, you can really show who the heart of your brand is in the same that way that you would do Instagram stories or Instagram video. This is how you can use TikTok in a much more fun way that builds that brand loyalty. And it's like, oh, the team at Washington Post, they're super funny and like cool, and okay, I'm gonna follow them. And of course, read their content. So kind of building that brand loyalty through really fun content. Yeah. And this past week, Taylor Lawrence, who writes for the New York Times, she's their internet culture reporter. She did a whole deep dive on TikTok within 2020, the biggest hits of the year and predictions for 2020. I will be sending a link to that. I encourage everybody to read it if you haven't done so already, if you want to kind of a better understanding of what TikTok has to offer. But she said TikTok fame is different from fame on other social platforms like YouTube, Twitter, or Instagram, because TikTok primarily serves viewers through its algorithm-driven feed. You don't need a single follower on the app to have a video blow up. You just need to tap into the right trend or do the right dance at the right time. Obviously, I don't know if you'll see us dance on TikTok, but there are so many fun trends that could probably, apply to your own brand. Mm-hmm. And if that's something that feels authentic to you, of course, tapping into authenticity, that's like super core of it. But I think Gen Zers and even millennials, I mean, we're very, we can definitely sense when something's not authentic. Mm-hmm. Washington Post has done a great job in keeping that authenticity with a really great team and a really great, the guy who manages the entire account is really like, that's who he is. He's just a goofball. But authenticity is very much to the core of it. If it doesn't feel authentic, don't do it. But if you find a trend that feels right, then do it. Try it out. And if it doesn't work, then you already know you've tested that out and you can continue on with your content strategy. But I encourage everybody to try TikTok and see, it could be your biggest platform by the end of 2020. So next is owning your communication channels over your social media. Actually beyond social media. It's not over social media. I think we put so much emphasis within our social channels and put so much value to our following. But at the end of the day, when we're growing our brands on Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform, we're at the mercy of these social media channels. Mm-hmm. And we've seen so many times that every time Instagram does a change within the algorithm, hiding likes, whatever it may be, we have no say. We're at their mercy. We don't own Instagram, so we really can't do anything. But when it comes to actually like building a really, really strong and amplifying with like a really engaged audience, And the core of everything is making sure that you have a newsletter or an email list with your audience to give them the content that you already are delivering to them that they might not see within Instagram because the algorithm didn't actually put it. Or not that it didn't put it, but it's just ranked really low within the algorithm and they probably didn't see it. So Jenna Kutcher, a few of you guys might be familiar with her. She teaches brands and content creators how to grow their email list. She's mentioned in her webinars that email list is perhaps the most important contact with your audience beyond your social media. So, like I mentioned, if we're up to Instagram's mercy, if they decide to hide likes or change up the algorithm, we just have to live with that. But with an email newsletter, having your audience subscribe to your newsletter guarantees that they will see your content when it lands on their inbox. If I subscribe to your newsletter and I know that you're sending a newsletter every Tuesday at 10 a.m., kind of like the Planoly newsletter, I'm conditioned to knowing that I'm going to expect that newsletter the same time every time of the week. Mm-hmm. And there's no algorithm within a Gmail, inbox. It's going to land there. So it's a matter of really taking ownership and using the power of email newsletters to really deliver the content that your audience really wants to see. Mm-hmm. So with an email list, this is a following that you fully own with an audience that is tapped in the minute that they subscribe. Mm-hmm. So this is much more powerful than just a single follow on Instagram, or especially with Facebook. Pages have been, the content that pages put out has been ranked lower within people's feeds. So when it comes to actually having a newsletter, it's guaranteed to be there. I'm signing up for your content. I'm expecting to see your content in my newsletter, in my email inbox. So of course, social media is still very, very important, but take it a step further and really take ownership of your audience and ownership of, your business growing. So many people have grown, their income just by creating a really strong email newsletter list. So take advantage of that. I would definitely look at Jenna Kutcher and look at brands of that you already follow or subscribe to and see their strategy, what content they provide, and try to see if you can amplify the same way in the way that these brands have grown. So next we'll tap into AR filters. So obviously Snapchat has done this a bit prior to Instagram adding AR filters, but it's really interesting in how AR filters have kind of gone viral within Instagram stories. So there's been, right now, you can actually just if you see somebody who's using an AR filter, you can tap the filter and add it to your library of filters within Instagram stories. But before, you had to actually add or follow the creator who made those filters to add them to your library. While that's not the same anymore, it's still a great way to drive more people back to your profile or even get tons of new followers. Creators that have done this so well, and I might be butchering their names, Oleg Peshkovsky and Joe Squaw, they have gone really viral by creating super cool AR filters that just, are really weird, but their niche is AR filters. People know them because of the AR filters, and they've grown an insane following because of those filters. So I don't see this dying down anytime soon. There was even a creator who made a set of filters that were just the makeup of Euphoria. Of all the makeup looks from Euphoria, he made a whole set of filters. And that once Euphoria was out, he wasn't even working for Euphoria. He's just I'm gonna make a set of AR filters so everybody can kind of emulate these Euphoria makeup looks. And that went viral, and he grew so many followers. So trying to, tap into trends that are going on at the time. Makeup is a big thing. If you're a makeup brand, I feel AR filters will be right up your alley. I think even, and I'm sorry, I'm just thinking of this right now. If you're a brand and you want to show how your highlight looks on or you want to show your customer how a highlight looks on them, create an AR filter for it. It would be kind of really cool. And this is even diving into product itself. So for example, like I mentioned earlier, AR filters are going in even into product. And last week, Carling had released a shirt that is an AR filter scannable shirt. And basically, the minute that you scan the shirt and pull up your phone to the shirt, it'll pull up a set of designs that are on the shirt. And obviously the shirt is just white, but once you scan it on the AR filter, you can switch to different logos, different patterns, and it'll just stay on there. And it's just really, really cool. And I feel like this is super awesome. And I've seen a few things before that have kind of like emulated this, but for it to be integrated within Instagram, well, I mean, I feel like I want to buy the shirt now and just try out the filter. But it's just, AR face filters are just the beginning, and seeing it go into product, and even how like Snapchat does the little AR things on tables and everything, it's going to go beyond just face filters. So keep that in mind when you're trying to amplify with AR filters, and seeing how it can go beyond what's already within the box right now of just like a pretty face filter.
So next we're going to talk about how social media is making the shift to mindfulness and intention in 2020, and how we really want to dive into wellness practices when it comes to working on your social media strategy for the new year. So the digital world is evolving into more of a mindful and intentional based all around like view of how you really rework your strategy on and offline. And one of the things that we've really tried to discuss a lot more on the blog has been like intention and wellness, and really being right mentally when you're also getting on Instagram and Facebook and everything, so that you're diving in with an intention but not like letting it take over everything that you're kind of like thinking through. So one thing that we really want to emphasize for the new year is to strategize in a way that you're creating thoughtful connections with your audience and being more intentional with your content, so that when you're offline you can still create that like sense of you being there through what you're sharing. So one thing that Instagram is currently doing is that they're taking steps to make sure that the platform fosters a sense of community and wellness and positive impact, so that it breeds empowering content and conversations instead of that constant noise that doesn't really provide anything for you, and it's going much more beyond the information about the product that's being sold or like that negative chatter. So more and more brands are starting to create thoughtful content that's more intentional for their audience through storytelling and through sharing those like personal moments and giving them more of a view into the brand or who they are as an influencer, which is what we touched on earlier. And those are great ways to be more intentional with your content. So fact tells and stories sell. The more that you can share your facts with your audience, but also place it for them in a way that's storytelling, is a great way to get that like message out in a more positive way. And in 2020, we want to allow you to plan and schedule your content so that you can spend more time being offline and less time online, which with our many products and tools like Planoly and Stories Edit, which will help you like strategize for the year ahead in order to be more intentional and not be having to worry about spending more time online.
I mean, even with the iPhone update of seeing your weekly, how much time you spend on the phone, these little things that, you know, are being implemented within our phones or within social media tools. Pinterest has been very proactive too in making sure that it stays a positive space and it doesn't, you know, kind of fester into like negativity. We don't need that. And it's not to say that we're creating our own bubble and of positivity. Obviously there's like, we can stay up to date with the news and knows what's going on all the time, but it's more of using social media in a sense that actually serves you, your purpose, and doesn't give you any intention of like, oh God, I follow this girl and she made me feel like this, that, and this because she has X, Y, Z. Like Instagram has been very proactive in making sure that if you feel any of those negative feelings, like encouraging you to unfollow. It's totally fine. You don't need to follow or hate follow anybody. You don't need that negativity in 2020. The future is very bright. So making sure that, you know, it doesn't just stay as a trend. And obviously this webinar is about trends, but this is something that we hope it's our core value going into the new year. I mean, obviously this is why Planoly was created. Brandy created it to make her life a little bit easier. to plan out content and spend time with her family, and we encourage that to everybody else. We don't have to be tied down to Instagram and just like scrolling.
Yeah.
Using our time more wisely and creating content that actually, serves the better purpose of the world.
And speaking of Pinterest being more of an inspirational platform, we're going to dive into it a little bit more. So this is a quote by Pinterest CMO Andrea Mallard. It says, "Stop interrupting and start inspiring." And Pinterest's vision is to mostly inspire their audience to create a life that they love. Essentially, everything that you see on Pinterest is a great starting deck to visualize how you want your life to look, whether it comes from inspiration and DIYs and cooking or crafting the perfect cocktail or how to decorate your bedroom or how to style a certain look for the holidays. It's all about inspo on Pinterest, and it's more than just a DIY platform too. It's a great way to leverage your own website and the content that you're sharing with your audience. One thing that Pinterest is really, really great at too is tapping into specific niches within the platform and really diving into different things that you can search for, like wedding photography or cooking tutorials or outfit inspo. Automobile industry is even on there. In 2020, we're seeing a lot of new trends emerging for Pinterest. And actually, Pinterest just launched their new Pinterest 100 2020 trend report, which shares a lot of new things that we're going to see within the new year. And we can share that link with you guys as well because it's really, really cool. So going off of that, there's a misconception that Pinterest is made just for arts and crafts and to find inspiration for your next DIY. However, with over 322 million users on Pinterest, there's plenty of room for niches that will help drive traffic back to your site. So for example, niches on Pinterest that you can tap to are car buying, home buying for your new home, wedding season is always a big one on Pinterest, gifting, vacation, health and wellness, even business tips. There's all sorts of things that you can tap into.
A lot of marketing tips on there too.
Yeah.
I think if your brand serves some type of informational content that somebody can reference to later on Pinterest, there's probably somebody who's created a board for marketing tips or daily organizational tips, whatever it may be. Your brand provides that expertise and information, then it is your time to be on Pinterest. Don't knock out Pinterest unless you know that your audience is not on there. Obviously, 322 million people are not going to have the same one interest in DIY. So tap into, there's so many niches in there. So make sure that you're actually amplifying because it can really drive a lot of content, a lot of traffic back to your content, either to your website, and really amplify your growth for your business strategy that you have for 2020. And trust us, we really think it's going to work out for you.
And with Pinterest, the more that you're sharing on the platform, the more engagement you'll receive. And the best way to do that is through strategizing with the content that you're placing out there. And you can definitely use our pin planner tool for a lot of that strategizing. You can schedule out your content in advance for the weeks and months ahead and get a head start on 2020 by strategizing and seeing how your calendar will look with your Pinterest content going into the new year. And it's also a great way to analyze how your pins are doing to see what is resonating with your audience the most and how you can rework the content that you're sharing.
And we've done this we've laid it out so easy with our pin planner, our newest product that we just launched in the fall. It just makes Pinterest a lot more easy, and it's not the same strategy as Instagram. It's not that you have to plan out so much content in advance. You can actually, it's a lot easier. Of course, you have to have great descriptions, great titles, always have to drive a link back to your site or to the website that you're trying to drive to. But at the end of the day, it is a great tool that will help you grow your business beyond the traffic that you already get from Facebook or Instagram. Instagram, of course, is great. We have ways to drive traffic outside of it, but with Pinterest, your content can stay living longer from a post on Instagram, and especially if you have evergreen content that you see keeps getting more traffic through your Google Analytics. Create a pin for it, and then you'll see that if you're getting a lot of traffic on it regularly on your site, then that traffic is going to grow even more within Pinterest. So you can try it out with our pin planner. and schedule everything and really see how your content's going to work out for you. So with that said, obviously these are trends that we're looking at going into 2020, but we're very curious about what trends you're anticipating going into 2020. We obviously, these are just 6, and there's so many changes and fluctuations throughout social media, digital marketing, and we're curious to know which ones you're looking at. Obviously, with hiding likes and everything, I think that might shift a little bit too. I don't think it's going to do much of a change. If anything, people are going to be a little bit more, just post heartful content rather than waiting for likes to have that vanity metric on there. We do think that maybe, I feel like maybe people will post more with intention, going back to actually using social media with intention rather than just like opening the floodgates for all type of content.
Yeah.
But we have a few pieces on the blog about hiding likes. If you had a question about that, I would definitely encourage you to look at the Planoly blog, and we'll include some links within within the webinar too. But yeah, very curious to hearing your what trends you're looking for in 2020. Feel free to drop them in the chat. But with that said, we'll dive into the Q&A. Again, if you asked any questions and you happen to drop them into the chat box, please drop them into the Q&A box. We'll go there first, and then we'll chat about some of the 2020 trends that you guys are looking at for the next year.
Hi, everybody. All right, so I hope that was really helpful. And I do see a few questions coming in. Let me just go to the chat first so we can be on topic about what perhaps some trends that you guys are looking at. Let's see. Oh. And for some of the people that did come late, yes, there will be a replay. So make sure to check out for the Zoom webinar tomorrow, the email from the Zoom webinar tomorrow. That will have the link, and if not, it will be on YouTube Friday. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube. We have all of our webinars from this year there, ready for you to check out. And of course, we will be having a webinar on Thursday for our Planoly 101 Instagram planner webinar. That's more basic on how to just use Planoly, our Instagram planner, just like a rundown from front to end. So that way you guys are a little bit more familiar in how you can use the tool, and we'll answer your questions live there on the Planoly app too. All right. Let's see, let me go all the way to the top. Just a lot of conversation. Okay, so somebody asked, why are all the suggested post times in the afternoon? Can you clarify on what platform suggested post times? Because if this is in regards to Planoly, usually suggested post times are depending on what when your audience is most active, and that depends on your Instagram insights. So if your suggested times based on your Instagram insights are in the afternoon, that's when your audience is most active. So that's would be why. All right, let's go to the bottom. Okay, so Tina asked, can you post videos from IGTV to your phone, from your phone? I'm only seeing on my desktop when in my IG account. So we actually saw this last week. Before you could post from the Instagram app, but now you have to download IGTV to upload to your to IGTV. It doesn't have to be to desktop, but you can download the IGTV app and upload your content through your phone. It doesn't have to be to desktop. But I believe after a certain time, I think after like 10 minutes, or if you're uploading something that's like close to an hour, you perhaps have to download on desktop. But there's the IGTV app, and that will let you know whether you can upload or not. But you don't have to be on desktop. So hope that clarifies. Okay. Liz asked, would it be possible to get some stats that were mentioned, the percentage of clicks on video content versus other content? Yes, again, all these slides will be sent to you tomorrow. So you will be able to see the screenshots of all of the slides, including percentage of engagement rate over video versus, standard content on feed. So that will all be there for you. Danon said, you mentioned including a link back to your site for content on Pinterest. Can you talk a little bit more strategy for that? Yes. So basically, any of the content that you post through the Planoly Pin Planner, you will have to create a title, a description, and also include a link that will drive to where you want that pin to drive to. So our goal and Pinterest's goal is to make sure that you're driving traffic with all the content that you're driving on Pinterest. Before, it wasn't mandatory to add a link, but now you should. Once your pin gets repinned, people click a pin and try to find out more information, especially if it's like an infographic of like 5 ways that you can grow your Pinterest using these strategies. And that's the pin that I like included in my Pinterest. And if I'm including it in Pinterest, that's because it's going to drive to a link with a lot more information that dives into all those 5 different tips. Doing it like that, I mean, obviously you can pin imagery that is just like very inspirational, but it is also based on how you title and how you title your pin and you add the description. It is very important to understand that your strategy that you've been using for Instagram is not going to be the same for Pinterest. The same goes for the hashtag strategy. We'll actually be having a few webinars in the coming year to dive into the different strategies to make sure that you're doing all your content right. We actually even have a few past webinars on our YouTube for you to check out. But essentially, the goal is to drive more traffic back to your site so that way you can just continue growing, because essentially the thing about Pinterest is that the audience is very, very tapped in. While it's small in comparison to Instagram, the audience is still very dedicated and are always very engaged. So the minute that they see a pin that, catches their attention, they're going to go on ahead and click on it. And that's how you're able to drive more traffic back to your site. And we lay this out so easily with the pin planner and giving you all everything that you need to include to make sure that your pins are made to win. So I hope that answers that. B says, I'm looking forward to seeing how TikTok advances. I really like the panel discussed Wall Street Journal's TikTok platform because I'm curious how other brands aren't traditionally creative will implement TikTok to their marketing strategy. Agreed. Like Washington Post, something that I don't feel like, well, I don't know, maybe they're reading newspapers at school for reports and stuff, but I don't think that Gen Zers are actively going out to Starbucks and picking up the latest paper of the day. But you're able to see a whole new side to something that you perhaps thought, oh, like the people that work at Washington Post, like, oh, they're just reporters, but these are also people. Like we all have characters and like personalities, and TikTok is a really great way to have that shine through. And what I thought was really interesting too is that, like Taylor Lauren said, you don't have to have a huge following to have a video that goes viral. If you just hop on the right trend and it just happens to resonate with your brand, then that's a way that you can hop in. It doesn't have to be perfect. We literally posted our very first TikTok on on TikTok today. So it's just like a matter of like being open to it and understanding that as you create content and as it grows, your content's only going to get better. I think that's how we become experts at what we do. We just have to like throw ourselves at the wolves and be open to failing, because if not, then we're not going to be perfect. So just throw yourself at it. I don't think the more you put mind to it, you're going to be like, oh, this video is not great. This video is not great. And you're just never going to do it. So it's just like, let's just do it. Okay. So I'm gonna go to the questions because I'm reading some of the chat. So let me just go to the questions really quick. And I'm gonna answer questions based on the webinar. If it's on the app or anything support-wise, we can answer that to you on Thursday, or feel free to email our support team, support@planoly.com. But just to stay on topic, I will just talk about everything that we've talked in the last 10 minutes. This is an actually interesting question. Skylar asked, how important is a hashtag strategy for TikTok? we're still not very familiar with hashtag strategies for TikTok. However, I do see that a lot of the content that I get on my feed on TikTok, especially like with kids that are creating really like funny videos, always have hashtags. There's never something that doesn't have a hashtag, but I feel like songs also work as a hashtag, because if they're using like a soundtrack or a song, then you can click, sorry, I'm looking at a TikTok right now, like you can click onto that song. Yep, let's go to that song. And you'll see all the videos that were created with that song. So in a sense, like the song or the audio track works as a hashtag. So yes, a hashtag is important. I see a lot of people use like the hashtag FYP or For You page to try to get on the For You landing page. However, it's much more than that. Of course, the song or the audio track that you're using or the trend that you're hopping on is very, very important too. So I would say that songs and trends are primary, then hashtag secondary. Hope that helps. And as we find out more, of course, we'll dive into it a little bit more and give you more information, but I feel like we're all still diving into it at the same time. Okay. I feel like, so this is from Emily. I feel like highlights are really popular, but what would you say the benefits of having highlights on your IG is? Is there a way to track what highlights are effective? Of course, highlights, I mean, if you have over 10,000 followers and you have swipe up links onto those highlights, that allows you to drive more traffic beyond the 24 hours that you originally posted a story. Think of like the longevity of that highlight. Thinking now, like for my own personal Instagram, I probably need to clean up my highlights because they're a little outdated. But for me, I try to keep them fresh. So for example, I had like in 2018, I had a whole reel because I go to concerts a lot, and I had a whole reel of like my highlights of the concerts that I went to in 2018. But then once 2019 came, I'm like, well, people aren't going to look through 2 years of highlights. So I split it up. Some content creators do tips, like highlights of just tips, and they'll break down kind of like almost making like a mini short form video of a blog post and break down their tips into a highlight form. And then the last highlight is the one that drives up. You can swipe up to learn more. You can still see the engagement on highlights. You can still see how many people have watched it once you swipe up. So it's not like you can't still not see the engagement. So you'll, when you swipe up, you'll see all of, for some reason it's not letting on mine. But you are able to see your insights on that story the minute you swipe up. So you'll still get to see this performance. So it's just a matter of actively looking into it. Okay. I'll answer two more questions. We got a lot. Okay. Actually, this is a great question. Tamiko asked, what are your thoughts on IGTV versus YouTube? So I think at first we kind of thought that IGTV was going to come for YouTube, but they're very different platforms. And Instagram, we've actually talked with the Instagram team. We have an interview with the team that built out the creators account and essentially kind of helping creators build content tailored to Instagram. But you have to look at it as Instagram, IGTV, and YouTube are two completely different platforms, and the way that we look at that content on both platforms is very different in the way that we are digesting it as well, because IGTV just makes it easy that as you're scrolling and looking, you're going to be seeing very, a little bit longer short form content that is just easily accessible, and that keeps you onto that app. You're not going to be posting the same videos from YouTube to IGTV. If I follow you on YouTube and then I happen to follow you on Instagram, I'm going to expect different content on different platforms. So it's just a matter of kind of recognizing what works for your audience on both platforms. And this is why stories is so great. This is why I encourage everybody to make the most out of the stories engagement tools. Ask your audience what they would like to see from you on IGTV if you were to create a long form content. Ask them what they would like to see from you more. You can track your engagement and see what content performs best and work on that. It's all a learning process, and there's no right answer for, like, one general answer for one person, because your audience on Instagram can be different from my audience on Instagram versus YouTube and vice versa. So you have to ask your audience and actively engage with them to understand what they want from you on IGTV versus YouTube. But I will say that they are very different. Don't create the same content for both platforms if you are on both. I hope that clarifies. Let's see. Okay. Oh, this is a great one. Sarah asked, with IG Insights, how do I see if anything has been shared to know about what content is most shared and what I should focus on? Yes. So if you go to your feed, this is my feed. I wish I could share my screen with you guys. Maybe I can, I don't know. If you tap on a post, you can see, you don't have to go to your insights and your settings. You can go, sorry, let's see. Okay, I can't make this brighter. Sorry. If you go to your view insights on that post, you will see already, your post insights. So you'll see your total likes, your total comments. These are the shares and these are the saves. These are going to be more important than comments, especially with even likes, especially since likes are hiding. The saves and shares are going to be the most important content for you to know what your audience wants from you. Because for me, if I see that somebody's saving something, that they're going to reference that later. They're going to come back to that content and keep looking at it, reference to it. It's actually useful. It holds some value to my audience. With shares, that's just, amplifying your reach beyond the followers that you already have. So if you see that you're getting, much wider reach based on shares and even more impressions based on saves, that's really key. Comments are great, obviously, likes are great, but we're not focusing much on likes. We're focusing on real hard-earned engagement. A like is a very passive form of engagement. I hope that everybody understands that. Comment is a level up. The minute that somebody shares, they're like really wanting to promote your content for you, and the minute that they save it is because they're going to reference back to it later. They're inspired by it, they found it informative. So the minute you see that type of content, that's when you really want to amplify on those. So I hope that helps. But for me, I just go off of saves and shares. I'm like, oh, this, sure, I got 200 likes, but that 200 likes didn't get any saves or shares, but this other post got so many more saves and shares. That's the content that I'm going to keep on creating. All right. So we're right down to 1:30. I'm really sorry that I couldn't answer all of the questions, but again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to DM us on Instagram at Planoly. We're also at Stories Edit for our design tool. I'm at Code of Conduct with all Ks on Instagram if you want to DM me or follow me. But again, any support questions, feel free to email support@planoly.com. We'll be more than happy to walk you through any issues that you guys may have. But again, we will be having our Instagram Planner 101 webinar on Thursday. So just make sure that this is something that you want to dive into and get real-time help and support from us, I will be there along with my teammate Jasmine. We'll be answering all of your questions. So, and that link is on the email that was sent earlier this morning for you to RSVP. I will be putting it here for you guys in a second. Actually, let me just send it now, so that way if you do want to join that webinar, you have it right on hand. So 1 second. Okay, putting this here. So yeah, if you just click that link right there, you'll get on the RSVP list for this Thursday's webinar on our Instagram planner. But with that said, thank you everybody for joining us. I still see that we have a lot of people still here, but thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. We hope that you learned a lot, and we will see you next month. Again, we have these webinars every month, so we will have one at the last Tuesday of January. We'll be sending out reminders and everything, so we hope to see you then. Oh, Tamiko said link is above, is in the chat box. Does everybody see it? Sorry. Do you guys see it? I'm seeing, okay, got it. All right, perfect. Awesome. Great, guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon.